I feel like the gym, everyone's sort of walking around like they're the main character, like this warrior that's fighting a battle that no one knows about. And they're like, I'm like, relax. It's a
Yeah.
fun thing that we're doing here.
Yeah. This.
Hello.
How's it going, man?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Yeah, all right. Good day. I went to the gym, then I went shopping and saved 25 quid in Tesco's on the old club card.
What a day.
It's like I
That's
won the
amazing.
lottery.
Yeah, 25 quid.
Yeah, club card thing. It's always worth getting the old app if you can get every. I don't show you. Yeah. Where?
I've got the co-op one, and I make like 2 quid saving a day, which is pretty. I'm happy with that. But 25 quid.
Yeah, because you can go around there and you with your comedy, observational comedy, you can walk around and pick up some ideas for some of your skits. I guess you can walk around and think,
Oh,
work.
100%, 100%. I feel like everywhere you go, I get a lot of it at the gym. I feel like the gym, everyone's sort of walking around like they're the main character, like this warrior that's fighting a battle that no one knows about. And they're like, I'm like, relax. It's a
Yeah.
fun thing that we're doing here.
Yeah, there's two types, and you got that type of personality there. Then you got the ones which are like just starting, and you hope they stick with it because they're not fit. You know what I mean? I'm not fit, but I'm not fat or anything like that. You know, I'm quite fit-ish, but I'm not like one of these bloody weird types who just live in the gym 7 days a week. So
Yeah.
uh,
There's some people who don't, because I vary on what time I go.
mm,
Sometimes it'll be early in the morning, sometimes late at night, sometimes middle of the day. And there's some people who, regardless of the time, are there at all times. And I think, what do you do?
mm.
How big can you get? It's
And what do they do for
terrifying.
a job? Yeah, and what do they do for an income? They're
Yeah,
always in there when yeah, I know something dodgy, eh?
yeah, for sure.
So can I just ask then, obviously, how's it going to run? Because I know you've just done Fringe again, but this was your solo sort of tour at the Fringe in Edinburgh. So is it with the tour that you're going to take around the country? Is it exactly the same what you've just done in Edinburgh? Have you sort of tweaked it a little bit?
I've tweaked it. I've tweaked it. I mean, it was amazing. It went very well in Edinburgh. It was amazing. It was an amazing show. No, it went very well in Edinburgh, but obviously the tour's slightly longer and it's a bigger stage. So there's certain things which really work in the sort of intimacy of the stage in Edinburgh that I want to adapt. And it's also fun just because you sort of get ideas for new characters and new sketches. So there's a
Yeah.
couple of extra characters and sketches I'm bringing for the tour.
And how does it sort of work? 'Cause I know when people watch your videos, there's obviously there'll be you of one character, another character. Are you sort of jumping from space to space? How is it working? Because I mean, you can sort of film one and then film another. I mean, it's somewhat hilarious. I'll talk about it in a second what I've seen, but how is it going to work then?
So it varies on sketch to sketch. There's some which are predominantly voiceover with me sort of acting out on stage, um, which is I really enjoy that dynamic. There's some where it's just a single character sort of monologue. So I'm working on one of the new sketches, which is a speedy boarder and what goes through the head of a speedy boarder when they're at the airport. And sometimes it will be, yeah, me jumping between characters, which is it's quite fun to sort of do that, because I'm a very, very sweaty performer because there's so much physicality, and then you leap into this other one, and
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's quite exciting to sort of do that.
Because one, like I say, I think one of the things you did was the at the airport, and I'm that character who'll sit there and watch all the plebs stand up and try and rush on the plane. I'm thinking, well, I'm just going to sit down because you're not going to achieve anything. You might get your bag in a certain space, but you still can get the fucking seat.
Yeah. So because I've always had this thing, and I've always posted about it just on my like Instagram story and stuff. It's the look of pride and superiority that speedy boarders have when they're called up and they go to the front and they sort of look around and like they'll look at you like they're better than you. And so I've sort of created this character being like, what is actually going through your head? Like this is their greatest victory. And so yeah, I've explored that a little bit.
I think it's all down to the British mentality of the queue. You know, you've got to get to the front of the queue. Well, you've achieved nothing, but I don't know. I can't wait to see. Is it going to be on one of your? Is it going to be on TikTok soon, or is it going to be just for the tour then after, or
Just for the tour. I
just for the
think
tour?
that
Okay,
there's a lot of the sketches are sort of just for the tour, but I think that's
okay.
what's quite nice about it is it doing it on stage and having the time. It gives you the ability to sort of explore concepts and stuff that don't transmit to a digital platform and that very much live entirely on the stage. And so there's a lot of sketches which are sort of just for the tour, but won't ever see the light of day online.
Right, okay. And who did you sort of bounce off the ideas then for the tour? Was it like, I don't know, so your girlfriend, or was it your friends or manager? What's the sort of, did you come to the decision that will work and that won't work? What was the what did you get to on that?
So I work with for Fringe. I worked with a director called Deck Monroe, who's absolutely brilliant. And again, it is someone you come with ideas and you sort of bounce off of them. And then for the tour, I'm working with Elf Lyons, who's also incredible.
Yep.
And these are both, really comedy experts and just great people to sort of bounce ideas off. And obviously, aside from that, I'll always talk to my manager and my girlfriend. My friends, I don't trust them, so not them. I think they'd very much lead me astray. So yeah, it's sort of a I have sessions with, in a professional capacity, but then when I'm writing stuff, I'll just sort of ask my girlfriend, do you think this is funny? And she'll either roll her eyes and say no, or every now and again, she will crack a smile and go, yes.
When you're making the videos, the TikTok videos, or the shorts and stuff, how is it just you doing them, or is it a case if you've got, is it quite professional now, or is it still you doing it on your phone?
95% of them that I do is very much just me on my phone.
Okay.
Because I think you do see a sort of pattern of people will progress from that and start to do higher production and start to do scenes and stuff. But every night, if I have an idea that requires that, it would still just be on the phone, but I might ask like a friend or my girlfriend, like, can you just film this for a sec? But I think the style of my videos, a lot of them are very improvised, and I like the characters being the guiding force. And so the stripped back production value really complements that. And it's like the entirety of the intention is on the scenes and the characters and the jokes rather than costumes and production, shots and stuff like that.
Because, like I say, the record's not broken. Why change it? Because I think it works, and it does work because it's just you, and people want that, and they're so used to it, and it obviously does work because you are where you are now with it, But some obviously, I only ask the question because I know some people have gone down that path. They've started off, doing it by themselves, then all of a sudden they've gone down having the production, and it doesn't really work. So yours does work. So yeah, don't change it, whatever you do.
Yeah, I think I don't want to comment on other people's. I think. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I think people figure out what works for them. And it's not to say I will never do those. Sometimes if you have an idea, like the one we were talking about, the one at the airport, that was a friend filming me, which normally I do it by myself. But it works when it works for that idea. And it's just what works for everyone, really. But yeah, I quite like sort of just sitting in my room and doing these ridiculous conversations or whatever characters.
So with a lot of the observational comedy that you do, then is it a case of you just people you've met in the past, or when you're just walking around, or when you're going to like Soho House? I can relate to that because what it's fucking like. I mean,
it's horrific, isn't it? I think it's those sort of everyday, consistent, almost mundane consistencies that we don't notice because it happens so much.
Yeah.
But then when you really focus on it and bring it out and present it in a light in and of itself, suddenly you're like, that's where the humor is, because you see it every day, but you're not constantly thinking, oh, what the hell? Like, there's a thought of that in the back of your mind, but it's not a conscious thing. So I think it's sort of an amalgamation of things rather than like, I meet one person who's this caricature, who's entirely different from anything anyone's seen. It's sort of like, these behavioral consistencies and then just amping it up a little bit. And sometimes it doesn't need amping up. Like the Soho House ones, it is quite like that. I didn't have to amp that up because that is what they do.
You probably toned it down, if anything, mate.
Yeah.
But it's true, though. It's like, when I was in LA once at the airport and there was some music guy and he was like, shouting loud and loud. He was an English guy, obviously. No, like you'd think it was American, but it was an English guy shouting loud and loud. Oh, we got Moby as in coming to do a gig or whatever. And you're just saying, fuck's sake. But everybody, it was must be 100 meters could hear him, everything he was saying. So I mean, that's something like that would be. But I know what you mean. I know enough of the music industry to think what you've done. Yeah, you bang on with it. Bang
I
on.
mean, that's a brilliant. It's that kind of thing is a brilliant idea for a video, which I might do after this interview. Is people having phone conversations where that it's for the sake of everyone around them because they want everyone to
Yeah,
hear.
yeah,
I came out the gym yesterday and there was a guy being like, "No, no, give him 1 million," and then like you'd sort of look around and make sure people could hear what he was talking about. And it's like you're not thinking about this phone call. You're thinking about how you sound to everyone
yeah,
around you.
exactly. So you can't do two things at once, especially men. You like how you can't hold that conversation and then think about what it's going to portray to somebody else listening in. I
Yeah,
don't. But you have to credit me to that one, and if you do that, you have to credit me, Carl Marsh.
yeah.
So how did you get the idea then to start doing the videos in the first one? I know you've done comedy, you've done stage, but what was the catalyst that sort of got you into this? I'm going to try this.
It was sort of an accident. I've always been an actor. And I've always done these just silly characters and sketches and stuff. And one time I was making my friend laugh with a particular one, and just sort of on a whim, he was there like, "Why don't you make a TikTok account and post it on that?" And none of us really knew anything about TikTok or had it, but it was sort of a bit of a laugh. So it was like, yeah, you know
Yeah.
what? Fine. It was just when we were starting to discover that TikTok wasn't just dances. That's what we thought it was.
Same here.
Um, yeah. And we were like, suddenly it was like, oh, this is just like sketches and stuff. So I posted it and it did quite well. And so you then it just carries on and it starts to snowball from there.
And has it been some sort of, was there like a goal or a long-term strategic plan that it's going to hopefully open more doors by doing it? Was it just like you say, just on a whim? I'm just going to put it out there and see what happens.
I think it's put it out there, see what happens, because I think my approach has always been if I set a goal,
Mm.
you put so much pressure at it, takes all the enjoyment out of it. And the whole thing is that it's enjoyable, like it's meant to be fun. And if I'm not enjoying it, other people aren't going to enjoy it. And so it's always been like, if I'm really just like, I have to be here. And then I start to think, oh, well, I'm not there. So this is all failing. And you fail to see all the good sides of it. And so I've always sort of been like, look, I'm just going to do this, keep doing it, keep enjoying it, see what opportunities come. And it's been really nice because, if I'd set a goal, it would have been acting. And so when this opportunity to do stand-up came along, if I had that goal, I probably would have said no. And then I wouldn't be in the position I am now, having done Fringe and doing a tour.
Yeah.
And now it's actually come full circle, and through it, there has been acting opportunities that have come up too, and I think that's really nice. Just by being open to stuff, it does kind of come full circle as long as you just try and enjoy it whilst you're doing it. Else there's no point in doing it.
So the acting opportunities have come from people seeing the TikTok or from your previous sort of work. It's from the TikTok, yeah?
I think, yeah, it's seeing the videos and sort of being like, okay, there's sort of some potential here. Let's have some conversations, and then it's still something I'm pursuing, and it's always been the dream. But I'm in a position now with it that I may not have been if I'd never done.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have been if I'd never done all of this. So,
is there anything you can mention about acting? Was not even got that far yet.
no, there's not.
Okay.
They're just yeah.
I'll keep my eyes, my ears peeled, and my
Ears
eyes
peeled.
Keep
Your ears peeled.
Yeah. But no, I come across your stuff. I mean, when I checked on your Instagram, a couple of my best friends like follow you on Instagram. I knew you'd be on TikTok, and I thought, oh shit, okay. So they've got a particular taste, let's just say. So if you appeal to them, it's obviously a massive plus for me. So I mean, I knew you were, but I mean, I'm not into the TikTok, but now and again, my daughter shows me stuff. It is.
Yeah.
No, so you do appeal to the whole. It's such a spectrum of people. And do you get people coming up to you and saying that? They say, well, I didn't really think about TikTok as being, it's something I'd use for comedy. Have you, from the shows you've done?
Yes, I think that's one of the best compliments for me, is because, I like the people who've seen my stuff and I don't want to use the word fans, but fans of my work, for example.
Yeah.
And they come to my show. Of course, I love them, and I know that, and it's wonderful when they come and everything, because we obviously share the same kind of sense of humor. So they're brilliant to have in the audience. But it's oftentimes they'll bring, a friend or a family member or a partner, and the partner has no idea who I am and doesn't do the TikTok thing. And afterwards, when they've really enjoyed the show, which happened quite a lot of Fringe, and just been like, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. It's a real privilege because, they're the people that are harder to win round. And so, yeah, it's just a really, really nice feeling to have that, to have a sort of, I've had a few people say they've come almost wanting to not like me
Yeah.
because, they've been like, I don't know, their partner watches me in bed on TikTok while they're trying to sleep and they're like, oh my God, this guy, like I just hear his voice. But then they've been like, but I really enjoyed the show. And it's like, okay, well, that's a real win.
Yeah. I've
And
had that.
that was my mum.
Oh, really?
No.
I knew someone recently, a famous doctor guy, and he does all forensics. And he was saying a guy came to one of his shows because he was pissed off with his wife going to bed, listen to his voice good on the podcast. So she'd fall asleep on that plane. He was trying to get asleep as well. So he went to the show just to see what it was all about, and it's just maybe not enjoy it as much as he did. So he did what he did. So can I just ask then? Obviously, you went to university, did English Lit, didn't you? Is that right?
Yes,
I
yeah.
interviewed, do you know a guy called Max Fosh? He's like,
I do know Max Fosh, yeah. He's a
he
lovely guy.
also did English at university and obviously didn't pursue that. So for yourself, I asked him the same question. How long was it before your parents got, stop being on your case about not going and utilizing that degree as much as, the cost that went into, if you know what I mean?
Well, I think I wanted to go to drama school originally.
Okay.
And that was a sort of 2-year argument leading up to it where my dad won out. My dad won and was like, so I was like, right, I'm going to go to uni. But then the compromise was I'm going to study something I enjoy and something I like, which was English. And then after that, I went and just got a job in tech, weirdly. And I worked in tech for a couple of years. And so I started this TikTok thing, but I kept my job in tech for as long as I could. And so when I was in a position where I could have left, I sort of kept working there. And so I think at that point, by the time I left, I had sort of 3 years of good experience and in a job that I think I was quite good at. And so my mum's always just been, she just wants me to do what I enjoy. But I think my dad was sort of like, you know what, you've got the experience. Like if all else fails, you've got enough to go and to come back to it if you need. Because he's a warrior. He's just a massive, massive warrior. So yeah, I think it's sort of been like, right, let's see how it goes.
Yeah. You can just imagine, couldn't you, if like say TikTok got hacked one day and it got shut down and all that, you'd be like, what are you guys gonna do?
Yeah. I think to be honest now though, I don't think I would go back to that
That's
industry.
my next question. That was my next question, actually. I was going to say, would you go back to that job? Could it? No.
No, I'd find another way.
Okay.
It's very hard. This is like, the kind of thing I mean, I didn't grow up wanting to be a TikToker because I didn't grow up with TikTok or
No. But it's an outreach. It's an outlet, isn't it? It's something to get your stuff out there, your comedy, and obviously that's why you're doing the tour, because that's where I think you want to focus going forward. I think is acting and being on the stage as a comedian.
Absolutely. It's when I'm happiest is sort of when I'm either acting or on stage and trying to make people laugh. It's just unlike anything else. It's unbelievable. Even when I first started stand-up, I had obviously every stand-up has this. You do a couple of shows that really just aren't working. But even then I loved it because I've done a couple of shows where I've really come off being like, I smashed that.
Yeah.
And didn't get any laughs, but I've been like, yeah, really enjoyed it. And it's all part of learning.
Right. Yeah. I was going to ask you then, what on the flip side then, has there been any sort of where you thought you were completely shit and then, but the audience actually thought you were amazing? Have you ever had that feeling?
Yeah, 100%. I think at Fringe you have that when you get harsh because, after you have a couple of really, really good shows, and you're obviously doing the same show every night, but you have like the best audience reaction you've ever had, and it happens 2 nights in a row. Then the third night, which is still an incredible reaction, your perception's shifted and you come off being like, oh, that was tough. when realistically it's not, and you've got good laughs and the audience has been on side, but you're just judging it based on the previous two nights. I think that's why Fringe is a real test of character, because you're doing the same show for an hour every single day for a month. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it shifts. And at post Fringe, you sort of look back and you're like, no, actually, this was really successful and great. But you get caught up on all the little things like, oh, this joke didn't land. Should I get rid of it? It's like, no, it's just
Okay.
it didn't land on one night. That's fine.
Have you had any hecklers? Yeah.
I've had a few, yeah, but most of my audience are very nice. I mean, the most common heckle is they just sort of shout out my TikTok quotes at me, which is the strangest heckle in the world. And so I sort of offer, if that happens, I sort of offer if anyone wants to just get it out. It's this sort of weird. And I'm like, thanks for that. That's brilliant. But my audience actually tends to be very, very nice. I had these girls once who were just talking non-stop, but they were wonderful audience members, but they were sort of like all of the posh girl characters I do on the front row.
Yeah.
And I had to ask them to be quiet. And then they looked at me like I just called them the worst thing in the world. And so I came back and was like, I'm really sorry. I'm not trying to be rude. And it was all good and they enjoyed the show. But it sometimes distracts other people in the audience. So you have to just be nice about it, because these people have paid to come and see you. But just if they're talking, they're sometimes not aware that it's loud. So
If any of the characters then you've sort of put on video, have they been related to any of your friends? Because like I say, a lot of the posh characters, I assume you've probably come across these. I mean, same with me. I'm very fortunate I can dip into lots of different worlds. Do you know what I mean? Very working class from Stoke, but you move up and then you move around and all the rest. So I've got friends who are from that. Same with yourself, I guess.
yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm from Leicester.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
wife's from Leicester, so yeah.
Oh, really? Whereabouts?
She's got Colville. This is just outside Leicester, so Colville.
I know Colville. We used to play them in football.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they were a dirty team, Colville. I remember that.
Yeah, it's not that nice. She's just outside Colville. She will tell me to say that, but I'm just saying it's just outside Colville. It's just not actually in this town itself.
Yeah. Yeah, but even in Leicester, I was the poshest out of all of my mates.
Okay.
And then I went to Bristol, and suddenly it was just there was whole new levels of posh that I didn't know existed. And so I went sort of, people like, Bristol's a posh uni. And I was like, yeah, my mates will call me the posh one, so I'll fit right in. But then suddenly these people are like, oh, so where are you from? And I was like, Bristol. They were like, oh, bless you. Oh, really? Are you okay? Gosh. Sort of using hand sanitizer after they've shaken my hand. And so, yeah, a lot of the characters, but I'm friends, it's a lot of my friends. And so a lot of my characters are based off, sort of not directly based off, but I lift things from these people. My friends Polly and Sophie have sort of informed this Minty character.
So can I just ask one more question? When it comes to the tour, then, I mean, obviously, what's the prep going to be like ahead of you? Are you going to any sort of like quiet gigs ahead of it, or are you just happy with what you did at the Fringe?
I think I will do a couple of quiet slots to try the new stuff. I think the Fringe stuff, I don't want to be doing too much gigging, because revealing too much material and stuff like that, and also just in terms of like stamina. But I'm going to be doing a couple of quiet slots around and about London, just to try out a couple of the new sketches, just to make sure that, it's not just me who finds it funny, and to test those out. But yeah, it's mainly sort of working on the writing side of things. And then once each thing's in a position, I'll sort of test it, make sure people are laughing at it and understand it, and, speaking to people afterwards. But then I'm going to be taking it on tour across UK and Ireland.
Can't wait to see. Oh, there was one question I should have asked earlier. Actually, I completely forgot. We were just talking and obviously having a good chat. I hope. Well, I thought we were having a good chat anyway.
Oh yeah.
With the videos you make, how many hours a day do you sort of spend on it? Just so that anyone might read it and think, well, you've got to devote this much time, or you've got to be really, really into it. You can't just do like 10 minutes and that's it. You've got to spend hours and hours and hours. Is that the scope? That's what are you the same, or you just now you've got it down to a T where it's an hour a day and that's it?
I think there is no formula to it. So I think if
Okay.
someone's reading this and thinking like, how can I do it? It's for, they've got to figure out what they're doing. And I think also with the social media stuff, especially when you're building it, got to be consistent. So like when I was building, I was posting so many a day and just constantly churning out content and not giving up. You know, if there was a dip, I wouldn't be like, oh, because that's how you get noticed. But now, but the style of my video, because like we said, it's very low production.
Yeah.
It doesn't take hours and hours because I'm not editing too much. The stuff that takes me longer is the branded videos because they often want to be slightly higher production and
Yeah.
more elaborate concepts. But there is no quick fix. It's you find what you enjoy, what you're interested in, what you like, and the style of video that suits you. And then you know as you do it, you figure out how much time you need to spend. Don't just put something out for the sake of putting it out though, as well, which
Yeah.
I still sometimes do to this day and always regret it because yeah, you know when something's funny and when it's going to do good, but sometimes you panic and think I need to get something out and just put out any old trash.
Yeah. I like when you do something and by the end of it you start laughing to yourself, and I just find that's piss funny. That makes me laugh even more because you're sort of breaking up. You know, you're trying to stay in character, but you just can't. The northern one about the what about the teacher paedophile or something, and he's trying.
Oh. So they're my favorite ones, and they take, you know, that will literally take me as long as the video is,
Right.
because I just think, right, I'm just gonna, I'll be feeling in a bit of a weird, silly mood. I'm like, okay, I'm doing improv, an improvised Northern Family film. What's going to happen here? And so I'm just making myself laugh at all the, and a lot of people don't get that. They're quite disturbed at some of the stuff that comes out, like what is going on. But they're my favorites.
It's all just in your head. It's not like you've written down on a board in front of you. It's just all there. Really.
It's in the moment. It's improv completely.
Right.
I don't plan it out.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll be like, right, what topic? So if I do, I think I did one with a posh family going back to school. I was like, right, what would a posh family discussion about back to school look like?
Yeah.
Film. But that's as much planning in those ones that happens. So
Okay.
that's why I burst out laughing because I don't know what's coming.
Oh, I'll keep watching. You make me laugh, man. Honestly, you do. I'll keep
Oh,
doing it.
thank you so much.
And I'll look forward to seeing you in Cardiff anyway in the end of October. I think it is. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, you take care. Yeah. All the best for
You
the
take
tour.
care. Lovely meeting you and have a lovely day.
On you, dude. Okay. Cheers. Thank you, man.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye.